So a ton of you guys, a ton of subscribers have asked about my perspective on nofap. If you're not familiar with the term, simply put, it just means semen retention for the most part. But personally, I feel it goes deeper than just semen retention. It seems like the entire concept or the entire idea is centered around avoiding those lustful feelings and fighting the urge for masturbation and pornography. But it's a topic that can divide people, because some people feel indifferent and some people feel extremely passionate about it. But if you think about why there's a love-hate relationship with it, why some people's eyes just seem to gloss over when the topic is brought up, it's because those people, they don't understand the importance of it. They don't understand how beneficial that semen retention actually is. Because humans we're put on this earth to do more than just survive. We're here to build a family, create a legacy, and forge connection with each other. But then most of us are squandering that primal instinct and that urge. They're just squandering it away for a quick hit of dopamine. And by doing so, they're robbing themselves of a deeper, wired-in drive that's in our biology. Welcome back to another episode of Sweat Talk. My name's Chad, and obviously today I'm going to go over my perspective on the importance of semen protection or semen retention, and why I believe that it's a necessary, important practice for every single one of us. Because I believe that semen retention, I believe it truly can transform your life, and why keeping your seed can actually unlock a deeper purpose. We as humans, we're wired to reproduce. At our very core, us as humans, we're wired and we are here on this earth to survive and reproduce. This is biology. This is basic biology. We've been put on earth to pass on our genes, create family, and build something that's going to outlive us. And there's a primal drive within every one of us that pushes us. It pushes us to evolve and pursue. When you think about what happens when we keep releasing our seed for that worthless dopamine, or those short, fleeting dopamine hits. When you're constantly releasing your energy into empty pleasures, you're rejecting that natural drive that's been gifted to every one of us. It's almost like throwing away fuel without ever using it. That instinct and that drive to create, it's like a fire, but too many people douse it with quick fixes. And imagine what you could do if you were able to keep that fire burning. Imagine channeling all that energy into something meaningful rather than squandering it away on temporary pleasure that's meaningless. We become addicted to lust, and we need to break that addiction. One of the biggest traps of modern day society is our addiction to lust, our addiction to lustful pornography. Because it feeds an urge for instant gratification, but it robs you of your true potential. Because we live in an age where it's just all too easy. The access to this stuff is right at our fingertips, so it's extremely easy for us to get hooked on it. And the truth is, every time you give in to those lustful feelings, or that moment of lust, that quick, cheap dopamine hit, all you're doing is you're feeding into that addiction. You're pouring that primal energy into something that doesn't actually give you anything back. And if you can break free from that cycle, if you can break free from those lustful feelings and desires and focus that energy, you can unlock a new strength that you never knew you had. Because that strength and that drive, it can be redirected to write your own story. The story that you want to write, where you craft your own desire in your entire life. The next chapter and the ending that you can shape. When you're constantly caving to those desires and that pressure, all you're doing is you're feeding that beast. And that beast is just taking away your focus, your energy, and your ambitions. But when you keep your seed, when you hold on to that energy, you're able to fuel yourself with something more powerful. You're able to use that energy for power and creation and for purpose. And that purpose is survival and reproduction. Because I think we need to get back to basics with these primal instincts and these desires that we're taught to ignore, or we just throw them away. Because our original design is simple: survive and reproduce, and that's it. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but if we break it down to the bare essentials back when we were cavemen, what else were we doing? What else were we here to do? And we're wired to have a sense of a feeling of happiness and drive, because that happiness comes when we have that drive. When you're not able to resist those urges and you fap and you cave to that porn, you're not showing any gratitude. In fact, you're demonstrating a lack mindset. And somewhere along the lines, we got lost. We started thinking that happiness is possible to achieve at a constant. We could achieve it by constantly feeding our pleasure. Back in the day, think about like the 1800s or the 1900s. We didn't have time to masturbate. We were too busy tending to the farm, tending to the cattle, hunting. We had to work. Everything we did every day, it was all survival. And at no point in time in our history were we able to just sit around and think about boredom and happiness or the lack thereof. Happiness was never something that we constantly chose. It wasn't something that we constantly sought. Our satisfaction and happiness, it came from survival, purpose, and community. And that's the biggest difference, is we've confused those short hits of dopamine with fulfillment or short hits of happiness. We think that by chasing happiness nonstop, we can stay that way permanently or stay that way forever. It's just not true. And that happiness is also a trap, or that constant chasing after happiness is a trap. Society is teaching us that happiness is something that's permanent. We look on that Facebook group, or we look on Facebook, we see those people on vacation, or they're always smiling, and then we compare ourselves, and we start to compare ourselves, wondering why we don't have that happiness. But what you're not seeing is a reality in their situation. They're probably completely broke, living paycheck to paycheck. Odds are they hate their job just as much as you do, and it's nothing more than a projection, because they don't want to face their reality. Because the truth is, a permanent state of happiness, it doesn't exist, and it's not realistic. In fact, a permanent state of happiness could be seen as manic. Ask somebody with bipolar. It doesn't mean they're happy in bipolar, but they're stuck in a constant state that they cannot get out of. And sometimes that person with bipolar, when they're in a manic episode, it does give them a permanent state of happiness. Some of those people actually say that it feels like being on cocaine. Because we have to remember that happiness is just another emotion, right along with fear, depression, anxiety, sadness, loneliness, or love. It's just one of those many experiences that we have to get as humans. The problem is we've built our lives around it. We've built our lives around this endless search for that happiness, and it's making us addicts. So we end up chasing something that was never meant to be permanent. And there again, when you constantly release your seed for that cheap hit of dopamine, all you're doing is feeding that addiction. And you're trying to create a state of happiness that's impossible to maintain. And every time you cave to that addiction, you lose more strength and more energy that you could be using to fuel your purpose and harnessing that power. So what happens when you choose to retain your seed? Or what happens when you stop giving that primal drive to something that hasn't earned it? When you choose to retain your seed, you're not fighting against nature. You're not fighting those natural instincts. You're able to use them to your advantage. Instead of being a slave for lust, you're able to transform that drive and instinct into power, focus, and drive. Think about it like this. That primal urge or that primal desire for reproduction is always going to be there. But instead, if you're channeling it into something more powerful, you're using it to fuel your ambition, your work, and your relationships, or to find those relationships. You're not letting it control you, you're taking control of it. And when you retain your seed, you become more aware of your emotions. You actually experience them without constantly numbing yourself with that quick hit of dopamine. You'll feel your drive and focus, and you'll be hungry. And to me, that's where the real power lies, is in that hunger. Because when you get hungry, you want to eat. And when you get hungry, you'll do anything to eat. But it's ultimately more than avoiding lust. To me, it's about taking back your energy and your power and harnessing it for your purpose. It's recognizing that your primal drive is not something that should be wasted. Instead, it's something that you should be harnessing. Because you're not here to chase happiness. You're here to build something, create a legacy, and write that story. And by keeping your seed, you're able to write that next chapter of your story. So don't let those quick hits of dopamine rob you of that story. Don't let it rob you of that strength. Don't let that lust control you. Maintain your seed and let those primal drives fuel you and propel you to your purpose. So if you've made it this far, do me a favor and in the comments section, write the word seed, just that one word, seed, so we can plant these seeds and they can blossom into big, beautiful flowers. And hopefully in the future, we'll be able to harvest. That's all I got for today, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. I can't thank you enough for your generosity with those super thanks. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you for all of your support and all of your guys' kindness. Know and understand that I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace.